Hello and welcome to this tutorial on doing historical research at the Mardigan Library at the University of Michigan Dearborn. First of all, my name is T. Gorblich and I am the Social Sciences Librarian here at the Mardigan Library. And if you have questions about anything that was discussed in this tutorial, please feel free to contact me at my contact information, which is provided here on the screen. Now, before we begin our historical research on whatever topic we select or choose, we have to first consider whether we are going to be pursuing primary research or secondary research. And we have to then consider the database that we go into. And part of this tutorial will be about helping direct you into an appropriate research tool that will allow you to find primary versus secondary materials. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. And we can get started by going to the library's homepage at library.umd.umich.edu. And when the library's homepage comes up, we will go into the Find a Database section under How Do I, and click on Find a Database, and then we will go to the right-hand side of the screen where it says Search for Databases by Topic and locate the history databases. So we will just simply scroll down until we see history and go into the history databases. And the library has a number of databases that you will be able to utilize to find secondary material as well as primary material. Now, most of the databases that will provide primary material will be of the newspaper variety, like the New York Times Historical from 1851 to 2009. There will be some other things like the 17th and 18th century Burney collection that will also provide primary material, but it will depend heavily upon your subject matter. So you're most likely not going to be using this to do any kind of American history research because this is a heavily English or British sort of focus. So we would select from this list the databases that we want to utilize depending on our topic. So most of these databases have fairly extensive summaries that will provide you with information about what that database is about. And two of the best databases for doing American history research would be America History and Life with full text and then JSTOR. And it is worth noting here that the types of materials you're going to mostly find in America History and Life and then also JSTOR will be of the secondary variety. But I'm also going to show you how to utilize the New York Times Historical Database, which will mostly be primary materials in the newspaper form. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. And we'll begin by going into America, History, and Life. Now, there are a couple of things that you really need to think about prior to beginning your searches within whatever database you're in. Obviously, we need to think of terms that are searchable. And in this case, I'm going to look for information on labor unions. So I am going to indicate in the search window labor unions. Now, I can just simply begin my search if that's what I want, but what I would recommend doing is indicating that you want to find articles as far as the document types. Because there are a number of document types, as you see as I scroll down this list, that will come up that will really cloud the number of materials that you'll get back in the search results list. And then also you want to indicate the publication type because again, that will cloud the results list that you get back when you do a search. So now I want to find articles within academic journals, and that seems appropriate for what I'm doing at this point. So if I want to go back to the top of the screen, I indicate again that I am going to do a search for labor unions. It's there. I can click on search, and now I am off and searching. And now I am getting 6,408 items on this search. And that is an enormous amount of material. And we can reduce this. We can filter out a number of these results. And that's what you really have to do at this point. Okay, but let's take a look at some of these features. If I want the full text of this particular item, I just click where it says full text, and then I will have the material in front of me. And at this point, I can print it out. I can email it to myself. I can save it to a USB drive. I can save it to my desktop. However I want to treat it at this point, it's up to me. Okay? So if we go back, we'll also note that I can put this in a folder. So if I click where it says it is being saved to my folder, and I can come back to it later. Okay, so now I can go on with my searches, knowing that I have this particular item saved. So now if I want to later on go back to the folder where I've saved all these documents, it's up here at the top of the screen. I click folder, and then this is my folder with my materials in it. And then I can again do whatever it is I need to do with the materials. All right, and these are features that you're going to notice in just about every database that you go into. Okay, so think of these databases as really having very similar features, and you can utilize a lot of the same features from database to database. Now, as far as filtering this goes, the filters for this will be over here on the left-hand side of the screen. All right. And probably the biggest thing that you can do to really narrow this search is really to actually add more terms, because labor unions itself, or if we're just starting our search, we're really taking a broad approach to begin with. So we really want to try to narrow and focus things down. So we could say, for instance, labor unions and Ford Motor Company. And I will now be looking at labor unions as it relates to this particular company. And that will certainly narrow this search down by quite a bit. And I'll just click search again, and now I'm down to 24. Okay, so I've really narrowed this possibly too much. Okay, so you may want to go back and play around with a little bit more. You may want to look through some more of those documents, but chances are these are going to be articles that you'll be able to use if this was the topic that you had. Now, also remember, there are other databases that you can consult for doing research in American history or on American history topics. So just because you're getting 24 results here doesn't mean you can't go to another database and find other materials on this particular topic. Now, I'm not seeing where it says this item is full text like this right here. So if this first one, between Denmark and Detroit, unionized labor at Ford Motor Company, Copenhagen, 1919 to 1939, this is referring to a very specific time period. If this is something that I wanted, though, I could click where it says link to full text. And this is why you don't want to restrict your searches to the full text only, because if that was the case, you would be missing this particular article. And now we've set up, because of that link that I just linked to, I can click where it says request item via interlibrary loan. And if I have an interlibrary loan account, I will be able to get this article emailed to me. And the article will probably come in 3 to 5 days. So obviously you have to plan your research accordingly, but you will be able to get this article. So you don't need to restrict your searches to the full text only anymore, because we set up ways so that you can find the materials that you need to find. And you can do that for all of these articles if these are all articles you want. Okay? But of course, if you have something or you see something that is full text, you can click where it says PDF full text, and you're able to get the item. Okay? So that is a look at doing research in America, History, and Life. And of course, if you have questions, you can contact me at my contact information that is on the first screen of the tutorial. And now let's go ahead and take a look at the JSTOR database. And JSTOR is a very large and comprehensive database, and it is broken down by discipline. We can search the entirety of the database, but it is a wise choice to scroll down the screen and indicate the discipline that you want to search through. And for our purposes, we want to search through the history discipline section of this particular database, which has 468 titles. And if you click on the arrow here, you will now be able to see the publications that you're able to search through. And these are going to be some of the very best publications in the area. So for instance, this database has a complete run of the American Historical Review from 1895 to 2009 that will literally provide you with thousands of articles from just this publication alone. And you can search that publication alone. We're not going to do that at this point. We're going to search through all of the history publications because we want to maximize the amount of material we'll be able to potentially get. And very similar to American History and Life, we can indicate the article type that we want, or the item type that we want rather, and that would be in this case articles again. And this time I'm going to not only type in labor unions from the beginning of my search, but I'm also going to just cut to the chase and add in Ford Motor Company. And then go ahead and click search. And we're getting a rather overwhelming amount of materials of 23,209 items, and all of these are full text though. So we don't have to worry about getting any of these through ILL, another database. They're all full text right here in front of us. So if you wanted to go back and refine your search, maybe indicate that you wanted to only look through certain publications, you could do that. However, we're just going to look through some of these and see what we can pull out of here. And it's interesting, the first item that comes up is an item written by a University of Michigan Dearborn professor, Bruce P. Trukowski. So if this was an article that you wanted, by reading the title and a little bit of the synopsis here, you can click where it says download PDF, and you'll get the PDF version of the article, and you can download it to a USB drive or your desktop, or however you want to retrieve the item. It's up to you, but here's the full text of the article. And we can X out of that and look down through the list to find maybe possibly other things that we want to use. This is a really straightforward database. There's not really too many things that are going to confuse you. You're going to be able to find some of the best materials in some of the best publications. So this is something that you should definitely be using if you are working on an American history topic or a history topic in general. And now let's go ahead and try the New York Times Historical to locate primary materials on whatever topics we are looking into. And we can do one of two things here. We can begin our search in the basic search mode, or we can go into the advanced search mode. However, I'm going to begin the search in the basic search mode because we can filter our search along the way or make refinements along the way. So I am going to search for organized crime, and then I can click on search and I will be off and searching. And now I am seeing that I'm getting over 38,500 results. Now that is a little problematic because that is way too many items to look through. So you want to obviously look over on the left hand side of the screen here to see how we can possibly refine our search. We can limit it to a particular period of time if you wanted to. You could do that. You can look at particular subjects. You could look at particular locations. However you wanted to refine it, it would be up to you, and it's going to be based on your assignment or the topic that you are really focusing in on, because organized crime itself is obviously a very broad search. And one of the other good ways to narrow your search down is to add terminology. And we'll simply add terminology by using the word and I want to look at organized crime in Detroit. So I'd say organized crime and Detroit, and then go ahead and click search. And I'm down to 1,346 items. And that is quite a drastic drop. Okay, so we're going in the right direction. Now, do I want to look at a particular time period? Sure, I could specify a particular time period I wanted to focus on. So I can enter a specific date range, and I'm going to say, let's say I want to look for material from January 1, 1930 to the end of December 19, let's say 1935. And I'm down to 69 items. So you see, everything that you do within this database and any of the databases that you go into as far as filtering it is going to make a big difference. Adding terms, specifying a date range. It all is going to have an impact and a role in the number of results that you'll get back from that point on. Okay, so now if you wanted to select one of the items, you just click where it says full text PDF, and the full text of the article will come up. So it says here, Detroit sees hope in new crime curve. Okay. And this might lead us to actually more ways that we could refine our search. So maybe we could look for organized crime in Detroit and prevention. And we could refine it that way. Okay, and this also sort of helps you kind of, narrow your topic a little bit, because you're starting broad and then you're looking at some of your results and you're sort of, helping, helping design the strategy by which you want to go forward. All right, so this is a fairly straightforward database providing information in the newspaper form. And because these are newspaper articles, they are going to, in most instances, classify or qualify as primary materials. And especially, if you're, looking at a particular event or something like that, you're going to be able to get newspaper reaction, while that event is potentially going on, or at least the day after, or very shortly after. Okay, so again, refer to the New York Times historical and the other ProQuest historical databases for primary material. And that concludes this tutorial on doing historical research at the Mardigan Library at the University of Michigan Dearborn. Again, if you have any questions about anything that I've discussed here, please feel free to contact me at my contact information, which is again provided on the screen. So thank you for viewing this tutorial.